Special voice joining us on the show. Rashesh Shah, chairman of the Edelweiss Group, is here. Rashesh, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start by understanding how are you guys at Edelweiss? I hope everything is safe. Are you guys operating? It's a large organization. How are you coping with things?
Yeah, I fortunately, like everybody else, about a couple of weeks ago, we started work from home and made it very technology enabled. So large part of our colleagues are all now working from home. As you know, the markets are open, so the trading team and some of the critical operations related to that, they still have to be in the office. But large part of our other colleagues are all being able to work from home. I think we have all found that technology is a big enabler, and it's also a lot more efficient. So the first few days was not easy, but I think the last week or so, it's almost like, being in office whole day, and we are doing meetings and all, video calls and all. Also, I think it was a good time to test your business continuity planning. So we kicked off the BCP. We have also, divided the critical teams in A, B, C, and made sure that there is the A team is in the office, the B team is at the remote location, and the C team is working from home, so that we have enough redundancy for critical operations. Because I think what is very important is the activity has come down, the critical operations have to go on. One of the other things we've also done is, for the month of March, we have prepaid our employees. We basically prepaid the payroll, which usually happens on 28th. We actually are expediting it so that people have some leeway in managing their cash flows, because I think one of the biggest challenge on this is going to be how the cash flows get managed and all, for individuals, for businesses, and for organizations.
Right, Rashid, that's a very nice move of prepaying employee salaries for the month of March. I'll come to that, but before that, where do you stand on this, the point on whether markets should remain open or not? We all know how difficult a lot of back office guys who manage the staff which are at the back of operations guys are finding it very difficult. Some states have complete lockdown. They're traveling from far. Volumes are low. Several markets across the world have taken the decision of electronic only, like in the US. But our regulators and exchanges have so far decided to continue with operations of the markets. Where do you stand on this particular issue?
I think, you have to keep markets open, because closing markets has a lot more other consequences and all, and can increase volatility, because one of the basic promise of the market is that whenever you want to buy and sell at a price, liquidity should be available. So I think first thing, markets have to be open. One of the things we can do is try and keep markets open for maybe 1 hour every day, so that there is not a lot of load and only essential buying, selling happen, because this is not the time you want people to trade and speculate and do other things. So I think your F&O and the equity derivative segment can be curtailed. Your market hours can be curtailed. So the load on the system is not there. At the same time, you do have a price print every day that the markets are open. So I think we can find a wire media on that, because if this is going to go on for the next couple of weeks, at least maybe another 3-4 weeks, then we should have a longer game plan on how to reduce the burden on the system as a whole.
Let's shift our focus towards the system. The government is taking a lot of steps. Some of them, they are already consultative with the industry. You must have also interacted with the various sections of the government. How are you looking at the way our system is tackling this issue? This is a health crisis, and then having repercussions on the economy and on the financial side. But primarily on the way it is being tackled, the shutdowns, the measures on sanitation, etc., hygiene, etc., and the government is also doing their own bit. How are you analyzing? Do you think we are fighting it well?
I think so. I think given, India being a large country, very dense, and with a democratic system and all, I'm very positive about the actions all governments, state governments and central governments have taken. They'll be a lot more proactive. We have seen some of the European governments were slow because they were worried about the economic impact. I think one of the good things governments have done is not worry too much about the short-term economic impact, but they've just, closed down borders, made sure the curfew and all is enforced. So that is a good thing, because this is the only option you have to curtail this. And this is a big humanitarian crisis, and we have to just make sure that first we tackle the health crisis. It will obviously result in some economic pain, and that is inevitable. All over the world, as you said, recession and all is becoming more and more a reality globally. But I think now, once you curb the health crisis, then you can work on the economic crisis. I think the government has been very, very focused on how do we curtail the health issue and stop the spread of the virus. I do think in the next week, the government and Reserve Bank and others will come out with a package to even alleviate the economic crisis, because there is no point in just alleviating health crisis if the economic crisis can get prolonged for a long time, because that will also result in people unemployment and no income and other pain that is there. So I think it will follow, and I do think government is working on it. They've been talking to a lot of people, and they are trying to work out which areas, which sectors, what kind of stimulus or intervention to do. But I do think it will come, because we will have to alleviate the economic pain also.
Rashesh, we also understand that all these preparations are going on right now, and we are expecting that will cushion the blow to the economy. But where do you stand right now on assessment of how bad could things get? A lot of your clients on the lending business are directly getting impacted. How are you assessing the damage so far? And what will help, do you think, forbearance by lenders, bigger windows for repayment back of debt, working capital issue with a lot of small, medium businesses are facing? What's your analysis of all that?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost impact is going to be on cash flows and liquidity. And because, last 8-10 days, a lot of people's cash flows, we talked to a lot of our SME customers, everybody's cash flows have been coming down. So that itself is the first area, and we have to infuse liquidity and make sure that the cash flow cycle starts out, because once the cash flow cycle stops, it has a cascading effect on everybody else. After the cash flow issue is managed, I think we have to go towards NPA and forbearance and all, because there will be a lot of technical default that could happen is because people are not able to pay, either because of liquidity or because of the cash flow crunch. And we should have some forbearance, especially for a lot of businesses and all, who need some more time to pay. So I think NPA, forbearance, cash flow, I think liquidity infusion, and making sure that the cash flow cycle is not stalled at all. Thirdly, I think compliance requirements, because this is also end of the year and all that. So that's extending the compliance requirements, and just, I think, giving a lot more breathing space, because everybody is working on multiple fronts. As I said, business continuity planning, taking care of your employees, taking care of your customers, all of that. So I think some kind of compliance, forbearance and all in filing things also will come. So I think these are three areas where I would expect on liquidity, on NPS and on compliance.
Last question, Rashesh, the fear in the market is that now even the retail borrowers will start coming under pressure and possible defaults may happen there. What are your thoughts on that section of the borrowing community, and also on the real estate side? Do you think much more pain because they are completely starved of cash now, and further defaults will start coming in on that side?
So I think on the first one, I think retail, we have to be very careful. I think idea is not to spread panic, but as I said, cash flows will get crunched. But we do expect that some of the intervention and the measures will get it started. What we have seen even when other events happen, that if it is for 3-4 weeks, it gets managed, because even a cash flow crunch for 3-4 weeks, I think people have enough cushion and enough ability to maneuver from there. If it goes longer than that, then we need a lot more other active intervention from the government and from Reserve Bank. So I think that will be a function of what government and Reserve Bank does to alleviate the cash flow and keep the cash flow going on. I think on real estate, it has already gone through a huge stress test. Last 3 years has been a big slowdown in real estate. I think it has continued on that. Again, it's the same thing. I think if it's for the next 3-4 weeks, I think it may be, there may be a little bit of slowdown. But if it goes on longer than that, then we have to just make sure that a lot of projects are going on and houses are getting built. I think the good news is that people will not stop buying homes. In fact, if people have to stay at home more, then people will need more homes also. So I do think that house buying should not get long-term impacted, especially if interest rates come down, the mortgage rates come down, and government and RBI does a big push to get people to spend, because I think the demand contraction is what you don't want after this. So as I said, in the short term, we have to manage liquidity, we have to manage NPA forbearance, we have to manage compliance requirement. But in the medium term, the government will have to, stimulate the economy, and we will have to make sure that the demand and the consumption slowdown does not happen. I do hope that it will not happen, because India is still a growth country and we have a lot of young population and urbanization and all is going on. So when things stabilize, and I think the actions government has taken to slow down the whole thing, I do feel that if you look at China and other places, after this kind of measures in 4, 5, 6 weeks, things started to come back to some sort of normalcy. We look at Korea, we look at Singapore, a lot of things are coming back to normalcy in those countries. So I think the strong measure our government has taken, I do feel maybe by end of April, we should start seeing some normalcy coming back.
All right, Rashesh, we'll let you go on that one. Hope clearly is a very strong force, and I really hope that we as a country and as an economy, walk through this long winter, which seems very long, bravely together. Thank you very much for your time, Rashesh. That was Rashesh Shah of Edelweiss Group, with a very good handle on the economy, seen cycles at Edelweiss, of course, and also on the lending side of the business. We'll take a very short break. On the